Hello friends, today we're going to look at just one verse in the Bible, and it deals with how Jesus was or is submissive and, as other translations put it, reverent or having a godly fear. Being fearful but in a godly sense, having a godly fear. Let's look at that verse, Hebrews 5 verse 7. The New International Version says, during the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with fervent cries and tears to the one who could save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverent submission. His reverent submission. The New Living Translation puts it this way. While Jesus was here on earth, he offered prayers and pleadings with a loud cry and tears to the one who could rescue him from death. And God heard his prayers because of his deep reverence for God. Reverence. KJV puts it this way. Who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. And lastly, NASB, in the days of his humanity, he offered up both prayers and pleas with loud crying and tears to the one able to save him from death, and he was heard because of his devout behavior. So first, let's look at that word that is translated reverence or submission or devout behavior or fear, and it is in the Strong's Concordance number 2124, word number 2124. And if I'm pronouncing it correctly, it is eulabia, meaning caution, and translated reverence, fear of God, or piety. Now, the only other place that this Greek word is found in the Bible is in Hebrews 12, verse 28. Let's look at that passage in some different translations. The New International Version says, therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful, and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe. NLT says, since we are receiving a kingdom that is unshakable, let us be thankful and please God by worshiping him with holy fear and awe. King James says, wherefore, we are receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved. Let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. And lastly, NASB, therefore, since we have a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let's show gratitude, by which we may offer to God an acceptable service with reverence and awe. Reverence and awe. Now, if we look at Hebrews 12:28, the last ones we just looked at, it's obvious that we are to show gratitude, thankfulness, and serve and worship God with reverence, with awe, and holy godly fear. No one that I know of, anyway, has a problem with that. Now let's go back to Hebrews 5, verse 7. The New International Version says Jesus had reverent submission. The NLT translated it by this method, saying that Jesus had a deep reverence for God. The King James says that he feared God, and the NSAB said he had devout behavior. Jesus had devout behavior and was submissive and had deep reverence and fear for who? For who? The Bible says that he had those things for God. Jesus was submissive to God, reverent of God, fearful of God. I've heard people say that it means that God the Son was submissive to God the Father, or that the flesh part of God was fearful of the spirit part of God. But is that what the text says? Is that what the Bible says? No, it declares that Jesus was all of those things to God. Jesus showed reverence to God, was submissive to God, had devout behavior towards God, not to himself, not to the first person of the Trinity. According to the Bible, he was reverent to God. Jesus to God. Next time, we're going to talk some more about why Jesus was submissive to God. Take care.